Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ernesto, and in today's video I'm going to share with you some tips on how to save on your second largest expense in life, cars. Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy, and on this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be successful. Now in today's video I'm going to share with you some tips on how to save money on cars, because they say that cars are going to be your second largest expense in life. So one of the strategies that I've been using successfully lately is going to tow yards. So remember, there's all sorts of different ways you can get discounted cars. You can go on Craigslist, you can go on OfferUp, you can go on Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot of places you can look for used cars. And what you do is, let's say you're looking for a 2010 Ford Explorer. You look all through those different websites and you find an average of what that car costs. So let's say costs about, I don't know, $8,000. And then you start looking for outliers, cars that are priced much higher and priced much lower, and start figuring out why they're much lower or much higher. Sometimes they're much lower because they're damaged, or they're salvage, or they have some cosmetic problems like crashes or scratches or body damage or something like that. But it may be something that you personally can deal with, and it's going to make that car a lot more easier and affordable to buy for you, because there's going to be less people wanting that car because of the damages it might have. So you're going to have more negotiating power to lower the price on that car. So that's one good strategy I like to use. The ones that are higher, well, some of them may have like no mileage on it. It might be a car that belonged to someone that was like 80 years old and maybe drove it once a week. And I saw a car on the internet the other day that had 15,000 miles, and it was 10 years old, sorry. 10 years old and 15,000 miles. That's nothing. Actually, most people average about 15 to 20,000 miles a year driving a car. So they basically did 1 year's worth of driving in 10 years. So that car is basically brand new. And in my opinion, that car was worth the premium they were charging for it. Once you get an idea of what the car is actually worth, then you can start figuring out how much you're willing to pay for it. You start figuring out how much negotiating power you have, how much you can get away with when you're negotiating with the person selling it. So those are all great strategies, but one of my favorite strategies is going to tow yards. Now remember, when you park in a place you're not supposed to, or in someone's private property, you're going to see those tow signs up, and people will call those tow companies, and they make money basically towing your car and then charging you a fortune to recover your car. My friend got his car towed the other day, and basically they charged him $200 for the tow, and then they told him they have to keep it a 3-day minimum before they can give it back to him. I'm not sure why, but that's a rule they have. They said it took 3 days to process it. Which is not true, but that's what they do. And they charge them $150 per day for storage. So when you calculate that up, that's $650 they charge them for towing his car. It's very expensive. And for some folks, they're not able to make that payment. So guess what? That tow company keeps your car, and if you owe money to a bank on it, so basically the bank owns the note or the title on the car, they'll contact the bank, and the bank will come pick it up right away. And they'll basically pay the tow truck company a set amount. I'm sure they have a lower amount that they negotiate with them. But if you own the car outright, then the bank doesn't come. And what happens is it sits there on that lot, and every day it's building up $150 in fees. So after 30 days, that tow company will go to the court and they'll file a paper, they'll put a lien on your car. And they basically, the judge goes through it, and if you don't pay the money, they'll send you a notice. And if you don't pay the money, then they own it. The court gives them the car. So they basically get a little form they get to fill out that says that it's basically their car, and they can transfer the title to somebody and sell it. So it's a very unfortunate process, but it's the reality. So sometimes what happens, I know this happened to one of my friends. He had a car that was worth a few thousand, and they towed it, and they only wanted, like $500 or something for him to recover the car. The problem is he owned a couple $1,000s in parking tickets. Now remember, parking tickets are on the vehicle, they're not on you personally. So you could still have a clean driving record and still have a bunch of parking tickets. It's almost as if the car is the bad driver. So the car is the one that has those parking tickets. So if he wanted to recover the car, he basically was gonna have to pay all those parking tickets on top of it. So he didn't have the 500 plus the 2,000, he didn't have the $2,500. So he decided to just leave the car, because he said the car was only worth about $2,500 to $3,000. Now, when the car transfers ownership, those parking tickets get wiped out. It's as if they don't exist. So they get a clean slate, and basically that tow company got that $2,500 car for $500. So then what they do is they turn around and they post it on Craigslist, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, one of these places, and they sell it. And they sell it for $1,500. Now, I went in to buy a car recently, and I'll show you some pictures here. The car I bought, it's a 1999 Saturn, and it's an excellent deal. The car runs perfect, the AC runs perfect, the body's perfect, everything. The Kelley Blue Book on this car, the Kelley Blue Book value was about $2,500. Now, I drove the car around, the car worked fine. I paid $850 for it. It was a great deal. Now, I asked the guy, why do you guys sell them so low? He said, because our tow yard is completely full. And as you can see from some of the pictures here, it is full. The place was huge. They probably had about 200 or 300 cars in there, and it's full. So he told me they were having to park cars in the street. Now, they don't want to hold on to a bunch of cars because, yeah, they make money selling them, but they actually make a lot more money, taking your car and holding it for 3 days and making a quick $500 or $600. Because in the case of this car, they were selling it to me for $850, but they had to keep that car there for 45 days. So they actually end up losing money. So think about it. They would have made $200 for the tow, $150 a day for the storage, and in a month that would have been like thousands of dollars. That would have been way too much. So it's more than what the car is actually worth. So they pretty much have to forget about all that and just sell it and get it out of the way so they can make space for more cars. Their primary business is towing cars and charging you for it. It's not selling cars. So selling cars is kind of like a byproduct or a secondary business that they're happy to participate in, but most of the high value cars people are going to pick up. So they get left with a lot of cars that either have a bunch of parking tickets or are not worth too much. And in this case, what they did was test the car out, drive it, make sure it was driving fine, and posted it. Now, I got the car checked out. My mechanic said this car is great. It's an excellent deal. It's going to last you forever. It's a 4-cylinder. It's a General Motors car. So I got a great deal. So I strongly recommend reaching out to tow companies that are in your neighborhood and seeing what they have available for inventory. Now, this particular company, I've reached out to them several times over the last 10 years, and I've picked up cars whenever I needed a car for a friend or a family member that was in a jam, or even for myself. Remember, cars are depreciating assets. So if you buy a car for $10,000, starting day one, it's going down every day in value. It might be worth $9,990, $9,980, or $9,950. It just drops daily. So you don't want to invest a lot of money in depreciating assets. You want to invest money in appreciating assets. That's gold, stocks, bonds, startup companies, real estate, things that you're actually going to make money out of. Or if you have some type of business, buying equipment that you can use, that you can offer extra services and charge more to your customers and basically grow your business. So you want to invest your money in appreciating assets, not depreciating assets. So when it comes to cars, if you're trying to build your wealth, get the lowest priced car you can that works well. You don't want to have a car that's breaking down. My time's really valuable, so I don't buy cars that break down, but I buy cars that are inexpensive, and most of the time I buy salvage cars. Salvage cars are awesome too. A salvage car is usually a car that's been in an accident, and the insurance company says, hey, you know what, this car has $10,000 of damage and it's only worth $8,000, so we're just going to consider it a complete loss. We're going to give you your 10 grand and we're going to junk the car. That car gets sold to people that restore those cars and sell them. They go to auctions. Auctions sometimes are also a good place to find deals on cars, but in my experience, when I went to auctions, it takes a lot of time and there's been a lot of competition there, but that's not always the case. So check them out wherever it is you live, and you may be able to find some good deals on cars at auctions. I know here in LA, one of the biggest auction houses is called Coparts. There's several others. You can go there and check it out and get a feel for it. But in my experience, I've gotten better cars just buying directly from people on Craigslist or some of the other marketplaces I mentioned. Now again, in terms of salvage cars, I'll give you an example regarding the car I have right now. It was worth $25,000. New, it was worth about $45,000, but it was worth $25,000 at the time that I bought it. Now I found a salvage car for $10,000. That's an awesome deal. I bought that car, I got it inspected, everything was cool with it. The reason why it was salvaged was because that car had actually been stolen, and someone had stolen some of the more valuable parts off it to sell. In this particular case, they stole the back lift gate off the car, because it was an SUV, and they stole the driver's side chair, so it's an electric chair. Now I started pricing out those things, and I found that the chair, or the seat I should say, was worth $4,000 just to buy that seat, and the hatch in the back was worth $5,000. So I started getting an idea, okay, this is why the insurance company wrote it off, because these items are really high priced. Well, I looked on Craigslist and I bought some parts, but for those two major parts, I actually bought them on eBay. I paid next to nothing. For the seat, I paid $300 for it. It was worth $4,000. And for the hatch, I paid like $500, and it was worth like $5,000. So I paid about 10% of the actual retail value of those parts were. I took them to the mechanic and he just plugged them in. It was nothing. He did it like in a half an hour. So I saved a lot, and I got a really nice car. It wasn't crashed. It actually just had a bunch of parts missing on it that I easily bought on the secondary market. But even if they are crashed, it doesn't matter. You want to try to get cars that are crashed on the sides or on the back. I do not like to buy cars that have been crashed from the front, because that's basically the safety zone. Like if I were ever to get a car accident, and a lot of times the airbags have been inflated and they don't have the airbags. And in my experience, airbags are really expensive. Sometimes airbags are more expensive than the car is actually worth. Airbags can run you thousands of dollars, and I don't recommend avoiding getting airbags. It's a safety device, and your life is valuable. So I don't buy cars that have frontal damage, because it could have some damage to the engine or some of the vital organs of the car, and I feel like it's a safety issue because the frame might be damaged. So I go after cars again that have been damaged on the side, have had parts damaged, or even vandalized. I found this car that had been vandalized. They spray painted all over it, they broke all the windows, and they keyed it all up. And it sounds bad, but that stuff's actually really easy to fix. So I fixed it for next to nothing, and I got an excellent car. So again, if you're looking for a car, don't spend a lot of money on it. Get yourself a used, get yourself a salvage car. and get the money that you save and invest it in a startup or in stocks or in real estate or some other investment, something that's going to grow and give you revenue. An interesting thing before I go, I just wanted to share with you something I learned from my favorite book, The Millionaire Next Door. They talk about Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and all these different, rich and famous people, and they talk about their cars, and they say that the average car for millionaires is about 15 years old, and they typically buy American cars because they're lower cost, the parts are cheaper, and they're reliable. So just a point of interest there, in case you're looking for a car and you're figuring out what brand or what type you want to buy. That's what the millionaires usually buy. In fact, I remember they were saying that Bill Gates, who's one of the richest men in the world, at the time of writing that book was driving like a 20-year-old Oldsmobile. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, I don't buy cars that old because I'm interested in safety, because I'm a doctor and I see people that get hurt. And safety is a really important component for me. So I buy cars that are maybe 10 years old and have a lot of the latest safety devices. But I do buy older cars, and I typically buy salvage cars because you're gonna save a lot of money on them. Thank you for listening from downtown Los Angeles. This is Attaboy Cowboy. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.